What does sunlight actually do to your skin cells? Sunlight is one of the few things that feels unambiguously good. Warm on your face in the morning, the first real summer day after a long winter, light coming through a window in the afternoon. We associate it with health, with energy, with being alive. Nobody stands in sunlight and thinks, this is dangerous. It feels like exactly the opposite. And in that same moment, at the cellular level, something very specific is happening. In the last video, we established that ultraviolet radiation accounts for roughly 80% of visible facial aging. That number deserves more than a sentence, because the mechanism behind it is not what most people imagine. Not surface fading, not drying out, not gradual wear from heat and light. It is something more precise, more intimate, and more consequential than that. It is your DNA being broken, not metaphorically, physically. When ultraviolet radiation penetrates skin, it reaches the nucleus of individual skin cells and collides with the DNA strand coiled inside. The energy from the ultraviolet photon is absorbed by the DNA itself, specifically by pairs of adjacent molecules called pyrimidines, the building blocks that carry the genetic code. Under that energy, something goes wrong. Two adjacent pyrimidines fuse together. They bond in a way they were never supposed to bond, forming a structure called a cyclobutane pyrimidine dimer, a kink, a knot in the ladder of the DNA strand. The code at that location becomes unreadable. The machinery that copies and reads DNA cannot process it correctly. This happens not once per sun exposure. It happens thousands of times. On an average sunny day, a single skin cell can accumulate tens of thousands of these lesions. The cell is not defenseless. The moment damage is detected, a protein called p53 activates. p53 is sometimes called the guardian of the genome, and the name is accurate. Its job is to survey the DNA for exactly this kind of damage and decide what happens next. If the damage is limited, p53 halts cell division and calls in the repair crew, a process called nucleotide excision repair, which cuts out the damaged section and rebuilds it correctly using the undamaged strand as a template. Most of the time, this works. The cell repairs the lesion, resumes normal function, and continues. The damage happened. The damage was fixed. The sun felt warm and the cell carried on. But p53 has a threshold. When damage is too extensive, when the lesions outnumber what the repair system can process, p53 makes a different decision. It triggers the cell to destroy itself. Controlled, deliberate self-destruction. This is called apoptosis, and it is a protective mechanism. A cell that cannot repair its DNA is a liability. Better to eliminate it than risk a mutation surviving and propagating. That self-destruction is what you see when skin peels after sunburn. Not dead surface cells from heat. Skin cells that reach their damage threshold, received the signal to end themselves, and did. The peeling is the body disposing of the casualties. And then there are the cells that fall between those two outcomes. Not repaired cleanly, not destroyed. Damaged in a way that the repair system partially addressed, but not completely. Mutations that slipped through. These cells continue dividing, passing the corrupted code to their daughter cells. Over years and decades, those mutations accumulate in the skin, a growing archive of UV exposure that shows up eventually as irregular pigmentation, textural change, loss of even tone, and, in some cases, something more serious. Skin cancers carry a specific molecular fingerprint. When researchers sequence the DNA of skin tumors, they find a characteristic mutation pattern, C to T transitions at pyrimidine sites. That is the direct signature of UV damage. Not a coincidence. Not an association. A mechanism with evidence written into the genome itself. Now here's the part that changes. How most people think about sun exposure. When ultraviolet damage accumulates in skin cells, the body responds by producing melanin, the pigment that darkens the skin. Melanin absorbs ultraviolet radiation and converts it to harmless heat before it reaches the DNA. It is a shield. an effective one when present in high enough quantities. A tan is that shield being deployed, not a sign of health, not a sign of vitamin D synthesis, a sign that enough ultraviolet damage occurred to trigger a protective response. The body does not produce melanin when everything is fine. It produces melanin when something needs defending. The color that most people associate with looking well is the visible evidence of cellular stress. This does not mean sun exposure has no benefits. Vitamin D synthesis, circadian regulation, mood effects, these are real and they matter. The sun is not the enemy. But a tan has never been proof that the sun agreed with you. It has always been proof that your cells noticed. UVA radiation, the longer wavelength that penetrates clouds and glass, does not cause the same direct DNA kinking that UVB does. It works differently. It generates reactive oxygen species inside the cell, molecules that attack DNA, proteins, and the membranes of cellular structures including mitochondria. The damage is oxidative rather than structural, but the outcome compounds the same way. On an overcast day, UVA still reaches your skin. Through a car window, UVA still reaches your skin. The mechanism does not pause because the sky is gray. Each day's damage is largely repaired. But largely is the word that compounds across decades. The cells that fell between repaired and destroyed, the ones carrying partial corrections and surviving mutations, accumulate quietly. The 80% of facial aging attributed to UV is not the result of dramatic exposures. It is the result of ordinary ones, repeated across a lifetime, each one mostly fine. This is not an argument against sunlight. It is an argument for understanding what it actually is. The warmth is real, the benefits are real, and the damage is real at the same time, in the same moment, in the same cells. Knowing the mechanism does not take the pleasure away. It gives you something more useful than pleasure. It gives you a reason to protect something worth keeping.